Hi, this tutorial is created by pm-prep35.com. pm-prep35.com is a free PMP training website. Access pm-prep35.com for chapter and tests, mock exams and other process tutorials. In this session I am going to cover plan human resource management process. This process is part of human resource management knowledge area and it's a planning process. This process deals with the creation of human resource plan and it's a subsidiary plan of the project management plan. Like any other subsidiary plan, this process deals with tailoring the processes of human resource management. So ideally in a human resource plan you can find details about the roles and responsibilities of the project, organization breakdown structure, how would you acquire the project team that you need, and how would you develop the project team in terms of training requirements, rewards and recognition, and how would you manage the project team in terms of appraisal. These are all covered in the human resource management plan. With that understanding, let's quickly walk through some of the important points related to this process. The plan human resource management process deals with the creation of the human resource plan that has details about the project roles and responsibilities, hierarchy and staffing plan. If you remember, the activity resource requirements are estimated as part of your project time management knowledge area. So the activity resource requirements become input for this particular process, and obviously the human resource plan becomes an input for the activity cost estimates. So that indirectly tells the amount of iterations or amount of details that would be involved to build the human resource plan. The human resource plans covers a lot of information about the required human resources in terms of looking at them as to what their roles and responsibilities will be, how will they fit into the organization structure, as well as looking at what would be their cost in terms of covering not only the resource rates but also about the rewards and recognition, what sort of amount will be spent on rewards and recognition. The amount aspect or the costing aspect will be part of your activity cost estimates process, but then you have to identify in what phase what resources will be required, and then what sort of rewards and recognition will you give them in what phase, and then you also need to think of appraisal reviews and how would you deal with the resources, what sort of appraisal you would follow. So it covers a lot of area in terms of human resource planning. So the staffing management plan mainly, so the human resource plan also has the staffing management plan. The difference between the human resource plan and the staffing plan is that human resource is more got to do with defining the roles and responsibilities, organization breakdown structure. It has got more to do with how the resources are linked to the organization as such, and how would you it's got to do more with what would be the roles and responsibilities you would define so that you can recruit those resources from external sources. But when you look at the staffing management plan, you will look at how they fit into the project, when will they be staffed into the project, in what phase, what number of resources, what skills will be staffed into the project, how will they be trained, how will they be recognized or rewarded, and then how will they be released. So that is part of your staffing management plan, but your human resource plan has got to do with a more broader way of looking at the human resources from the organization's perspective. Staffing can be done with internal teams or external teams or members based on the capability available with the organization. So you identify the capabilities needed as part of your activity resource requirements, and then you staff them into your project, procuring from an external team or outside the organization, or you use team members who have worked on previous projects. So those are different combinations. This process needs good understanding of organization structures, dynamics and theories to come up with the correct project organization structure. It also requires good networking skills in order to understand the resource requirements and get the correct roles and responsibilities on paper, and then staffing those with the resources with the right skills. So you have to have an understanding of the organization structure too, because sometimes it's necessary to it's not for example, you can't have a resource full time, then you need to know where you can pull out, from which part of the organization you can pull out. So you will have different reporting levels, different styles of reporting. You have to follow a matrix structure if need be, because you can't maintain a resource full time on the project. So these kind of idea about the dynamics, the organization structure that would suit the project, so that you can balance your competing needs, is all important. And networking skills is one of the important requirements, basically, because you have to get the right resources, because there will be a lot of competition for a very good, scarce resources. So you have to deal that also. So it covers that aspect also. It not only deals with understanding organization structure, but also good networking skills and negotiation skills are part of this particular acquiring the right team and the correct team members. The inputs, like any other building of a subsidiary plan, the project management plan is a key input, because it has some basic inputs while you start off building the human resource plan. So project management plan, since the project management plan documents all the subsidiary plans and baselines, they need to be considered while you start building your human resource plan, keeping in mind all constraints and project objectives in mind. The next input, the most important input, is the activity resource requirements. Although the activity resource requirements will be more at the activity level, and you have to roll up to bring it to the organization breakdown structure level and all that. So this is where you will start based on your activity requirements. You will know what at the project level, what are the requirements on which phase, because your activity will in turn roll up to your tasks or phase level. So from the phase level, you can make out what are the resources required and what number they are required, what skill levels are required. Obviously, when you organize it according to the skill level and all that resource type, it is more of a resource breakdown structure. But the organization breakdown structure looks at it in terms of what departments each of the resources belong to, what will be their roles, responsibilities, what will be their designation and all that. So those things anyway will start from your activity resource requirements. So that's one of the key inputs. Obviously, like any other planning process, organizational process assets and external environment factors are really important, and that too, external environmental factors are really key input, basically because you are more concerned about the organization culture, what type of organization structure is prevalent, what kind of projects this organization is taking, what kind of structure it's maintaining, and all that. So that's where the organizational process assets and external environment factors are key inputs to this process. Tools and techniques. Organization charts and position descriptions. The different tools used are, you can depict the organization structure ideally in a hierarchical structure, where you can have an organization breakdown structure where you can say organization name, then you can have the departments within the organization, and then you can say which resource comes from which department. Or if the project by itself spans many departments, then you have to depict that in a proper diagram. That's where the organization breakdown structure comes into picture. But if you have to specify roles and responsibilities, then you have to use a matrix based structure, wherein you have your resource name in the top columns, and then you have their activities to the left. So this is called a responsibility assignment matrix. Then there is a, you can see some of the examples out here. This is one of the example responsibility assignment matrix, wherein you have the activities to the first column to the left. Then in the top you have the project team members or their names or their department that they are from. So those things are there. Then you assign R, S against in the matrix. You specify whether they are responsible for the activity or their support is required. They must be consulted. So all these things are given a notation, and then you mark that against the specific row and column for the resource. Then there is the RACI chart. The RACI chart stands for R means responsible, A means accountable, C means consult, I for inform. So you mark your resource and the activity, what is the role that they have, whether they are responsible, they are accountable, or they consult or inform. So this is also one type of responsibility assignment matrix. So this can be done either at the person level, or you can go to the department level and assign it. But as you get more information, probably if you are doing it for your team, then you'd go at the resource level. So that's an example of a responsibility assignment matrix. So hierarchical structure is used to depict at the organization level, but then if you want to specifically assign work to team members or the team as such, you use a matrix based structure. Then you have the text-based description, wherein when you're bringing people on board, you tell what their roles and responsibilities are. So that's where the text-based description is used to specify what is their role and responsibility. The next important tools and technique is networking. Networking is to talk with, negotiate with the other team to get to know about the position really well. What kind of, if you're working on a project and somebody is already familiar with that kind of a niche project, they would be in a better position to tell you what kind of resource will be really useful, how you can cut down on costs and things like that. So that's where networking skills is really important to this particular process. Organizational theory, sometimes you will have to decide which organization structure will fit this project really well. So that's where an understanding of organizational theory will help you. Then obviously, as part of any planning process, expert judgment, bringing in consultants or subject matter experts to understand the project and then decide on the organization structure or staffing, so that will help you. Meetings, obviously, as part of any planning process, you will have meetings in place where you get your inputs from different experts or subject matter experts or stakeholders. So meetings are a common input for most of the planning process, meetings and expert judgment. So the output of this process, the human resource management plan. The human resource management plan has details about how project resources, human resources should be defined, staffed, managed and eventually released. It contains the roles and responsibility. The role details the roles defined for the project, what is their role in the project. Authority details the amount of authority for each of the roles. It comes with the roles and responsibility, authority and all that are interlinked. Responsibility, while authority mainly details about the power, responsibility details about job description and the boundaries or expectations. So this varies from probably phase to phase for each of the resources. He might have one specific role in early on phases of the project, and then as he moves on he might have a different role. So those things are specified as part of this roles and responsibility detailing. Then competency, skill level is specified. What level of competency, expert, medium level or first level of skills. So these are specified. What are you expected to do? How are your development skills should be? What are you expected to do and things like that. Then as part of your human resource management plan, you have the project organization structure or the project organization charts, wherein you can find all the resources and their position and all that. Initially what will start as generic thing, then probably as you get the names of the resource, you put that into your plan. Then the other part of the human resource plan is the staffing management plan, which details about planning, staff acquisition, staff training, staff monitoring and staff release in staff management approach. The components of the staffing management plan are staff acquisition, expectations about the staff, when will they be acquired, what time frame, where will they be located, what is the source, internal or contracted, level of expertise. So these are part of your staff acquisition, because you should have a clear idea of what kind of resources you need. So you detail that first as part of your staffing management plan, and then you acquire them from different departments or external sources. Then you should be in a position to document their resource calendars. Resource calendars is nothing but in what time frame of the project, what level of how much time they should spend on the project. So you probably do it side by side with your WBS, or you have an idea of what resource should spend in what time of the project, when they should be involved, and in per week how many hours they should spend, whether it's part time or full time, what time zone will they work. So that to that level the resource calendar can get in. So that detail also is part of your staffing management plan. You normally, a resource histogram normally goes hand in hand with the resource calendar. So if you want to see how a resource histogram looks like, you have this is an example of your resource calendar, where you can see the resource name or the type of resource. Then you can see on what date, what is the timing that they work on the project. So that's one part of looking at a specific resource. But in a broader level, if you look at it, you have tasks. Then you can see the resource histogram, wherein there are blocks, horizontal bar charts, wherein you can see on what date, what level of work they need to do. So you can see the different resources that will be involved in case of each of the tasks. So if it's a 10-day task, you can see starting from 11th of July they work till 21st so this kind of information is also part of your resource calendar. It obviously needs to account for holidays and all that, vacation schedule. So this is the resource histogram normally goes hand in hand to depict the resource calendar really well. So that's also part of your resource calendar. So that's why resource histogram is specified as one of the components of the staffing management plan. A resource histogram is used to depict the resource allocation. This will depict the number of hours worked by the resource for a week, and this information will be an easy way to look at resource over allocation for stakeholders. So you can look at it from a day perspective, number of days they will be working, as well as you can plot your resource hours on a weekly basis. So if there is over allocation, for example more than 40 hours, then the resource histogram is the best place to look at, and then you can do a resource leveling. So that's one important very useful aspect of the resource histogram. Then you have, as the staffing management plan, part of staffing management plan, you have the staff release plan. When will the transition happen, and visibility about future work for the staff. So it should get into that level wherein what is the next project and what is the plan, when will they be released, to give them the comfort level. Then what are the training needs? Any gap in competency for the project staff is addressed with training plans addressing the needs. It's not necessary that you always get the right resource. Sometimes you'll have to get a resource and train them. So that training needs also are identified as part of your staffing management plan. Recognition, rewards, criteria for rewards, and what is the period, when will they be rewarded, what is the criteria, all those will be recorded in your staffing management plan. Compliance, what sort of compliance is expected from them. So any prior knowledge in that area wherein they have to be compliant with some government laws will be helpful. So you note that down also. Safety, what kind of safety measures they need to keep in mind, whether any exposure to that safety measures will also help. So these are some of the components of the staffing management plan as well as the human resource management plan. Let's quickly walk through one of the templates that I managed to get from the web. So this one is a human resource management plan. You can see the roles and responsibilities, project organizational charts, staffing management as important components. So that covers actually the components that's specified in the PMBOK, the roles and responsibilities, project organization charts, which are specific to the human resource plan. Then the staffing management as such is a separate section. So as you go down, you can see an introduction about what will be covered in the human resource plan, roles and responsibilities of team members throughout the project organization structures. Then you have the staffing management plan that will include how resources will be acquired, timeline for resources or skill sets, training required to develop skills, how performance review will be conducted, recognition and reward system. So if you see, each of these will map to the processes in the PMBOK. If you see, the training required is about developing the project team. The initial two are more related to acquire project team. So as with all the subsidiary plans, it deals with tailoring the processes and detailing how these processes will be handled. So that's one important aspect which gets proved again here in case of this subsidiary plan. If you go down, you can see the roles and responsibilities, what role, description of the portion of the project for which the member is accountable, authority, the level at which the member may make decisions, what is his decision levels, responsibility, the work a team member must perform to complete assigned work. So you also have description about the different roles, then the position, number of positions required for the project. Then you also had detail about the roles and responsibilities. So this is the text-based description that we were talking about as the tools and technique. So you can see the different roles in the project, the number of positions, and the description for each of them. Then you have the organization project organization chart, where you will depict the whole structure in a hierarchical model. Then you have the RACI chart, roles, responsibility assignment matrix, or the RACI chart here, where you specify what team member, or what it can be at the team member level, or it can be, when you start off, it can be at the role level. So anyway, the roles will be columns, or it will be the team members in the columns. Then in the first column you will have the activity. So that's that's a matrix based structure to explain the roles for the team members. Then you have the staffing management, where you have staff acquisition as one part. For the software upgrade project, the project staff will consist entirely of internal resources. There will be no outsourcing or contracting performed within the scope of this project. So in this project case, they are not thinking of external resource procurement. So that's what you gets written in your staff acquisition section. The project will negotiate with functional and department managers in order to identify and assign resources in accordance with the project organization structure. So this is where your organization theory is helpful. You understand what are the departments available, the internal organization structure, or if that is not there, then you put some structure in place. So that's why the organization's theory is really helpful. Then the resource calendar shows how many hours per week they will work. Some of the resources might start at 5 hours per week, then they would move on into the development phase. They will spend about 20 hours per week. So those things are all documented as part of your resource, and it is depicted using the resource histogram. So if it goes above the 40 hours mark, this is totaling all the resources in this case, but sometimes specifically you will draw for one specific resource, and then you can easily level if it is going above the 40 hours mark. Training, what is the training that would be needed for resources? Performance reviews, recognition and rewards, everything is documented in terms of when will you handle these things. So these are the important components of the human resource plan. You can make out that it deals with all the processes, tailoring. So human resource management has acquired project team, develop project team, manage project team. All those are details about how will you handle each of these, when will you load the resources, when will you release them, what is the plan after you release, and all that. All those details will be part of your project human resource management plan. So that's about this particular process. Do visit pm-prep35.com to access other tutorials, mock exams, and chapter and tests. Thank you.